Good morning, Coach Adam with Soccer Roots. Thank you for joining me. As always, please follow our Instagram and all of those typical avenues if you haven't already. Plenty of advice for coaches and parents out there on how to improve your child, not just at soccer, but also, out in the real world. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the development of a player at kind of youth level and what you can do to improve those kind of key years. Now, the first thing I always talk about when you're developing a player is you have to first know who is it that you're developing. That's it, the very first thing. Who is the player? So you have to understand what motivates the individual person. If they are there for fun, primarily, fantastic. If they're there for a challenge, fantastic. If they're there to be the best and to be the next whoever, fantastic. You see my point? Just get to know the individual, because then you can craft their own journey, which is why we're called Soccer Roots, right? We're crafting the journey of the individual person. So now you've got your kid, you know who they are, and you want to work on developing them. So the first thing you need to do is introduce foundational skills. Foundational skills, you've got to build dribbling, 90% dribbling when you're really young. You got to kind of then look at that. Are they ready to pass? Are they ready to, shoot, and all these different things? Don't take that just for granted. When I say, are they ready to pass? Well, think about a problem that could come from that, right? Sharing is the first thing that passing is. Passing is sharing the ball. If your kid hasn't been taught how to share and understands the concept that it's not my ball, then you're going to have problems with passing the ball. So within each stage of the game, there's something that's applicable to their growth, which is why it's fascinating that there's not enough kind of focus on growth mindset and mental health within sport at a young age, because all of these life lessons that they're learning are in the game. And if you don't have these, such as failure tolerance or perseverance, sharing, like we just spoke about, they're going to really struggle to go through these developmental stages. The next thing that I really always focus on is looking at their development as a steady XY axis graph. You don't want them to come flying out like this, like, oh, he's amazing, push him, he's playing up, he's playing 2 years above his ability. Why? Because if you're playing above your ability, then that means you're still the same age. I've got some kids who are amazing. They might be 6 or 7, and people could easily say, play with a U9 team or U8 team. Yeah, they could, as a soccer player. But is that really honouring who they are and where they're at? Absolutely not. They're not physically ready. They're not mentally ready. So why would you throw them into the lion's den when the aim is to get them here, right? Not here. So it's got to be steady. So just be patient is kind of the next step there. Be patient with their development and focus on it being consistent and learning and challenging all the way along. Okay, so don't rush their development. Be patient with it. And when people say to me all the time, honestly, every day of my life, I get people saying to me, I think they're ready to move up, coach. And I'm just like, well, physically they might be, mentally they might be, but we've got to look at the entire player, because if we don't, I'm doing them a disservice as a coach. And to be honest with you, you're doing them a disservice as a parent, because you're looking at where they're at and you're not looking at the vision of where they're going. And that's very much applicable to modern day society, where we band-aid problems or we band-aid things and think, oh, that's okay, we'll move on. But we got to really figure out every single stage of their development week by week or session by session. Okay, so that's important. And then as they get older, we've got to work through all those issues. Failure tolerance, teamwork, eating correctly, getting enough sleep, staying away from bad habits, believing in yourself. There's honestly a million things, and you're thinking, well, what are they? Well, they're the same million things that are applicable to you that we don't deal with, and then we lift our own trauma from our own childhoods into our kids' lives, and then they just become a version 2 of us rather than a version 1 of them. So development has to be consistent, it has to be patient, and it has to really just work at the same rate that they are able to handle. I'll meet kids who accelerate from maybe 3 to 6, they go, and then suddenly they go, and then the parents say, but what happened? Nothing happened. Nothing happened. The graph is just evening itself out again, right? They can keep going and they can still get to where they need to be, but you've got to be patient and you've got to understand what development is. So there's so many things to consider when you're developing a player that I just think really it breaks down to those key points. If you can stay consistent and make sure that you realize it's, not a sprint, it's a marathon in regards to their physical development, but of course also in regards to their mental development, then you're going to give them a chance. And remember, it's their chance, it's not your chance. You're there just effectively to keep encouraging them and keep guiding them and put them in a best place for them, An optimal environment is very important to a kid. If you put them in a toxic environment, they're going to quit. They're not going to like it, and it's maybe something that worked for you or would work for you as a kid or as an adult, but it won't work for them. So please honor your kid, learn who they are, and then put them into a place where they can go blossom and achieve, not just mentally, but physically too. Thank you so much, Coach Adam, soccerroots.com.